All right, week 3 on this program, so I no longer look like a lost tourist, like in between exercises. That's literally what it was the first week, and second week to some extent, despite the fact that I wrote the program. So, yeah, the first 2 weeks are when you start any new program. It's like trying to just find your rhythm. I like to compare it to like dancing. Like if you don't know the dance, right, you're kind of looking at your feet, looking at the other people, and you're a step behind. But then eventually, you know the dance. You're just doing it. You're enjoying it. That's where I'm at. I think starting as of this week. This was my full ROM set. I do have one full ROM set, and everything else after this gets turned into full ROM and then into partials. And I usually bring the weight up. I know people usually like their reverse pyramids. I like straight pyramids. More on that a little later. But I like both. But right now, this is what we're doing. But yeah, when you start a new program, I think quite often also, like something on paper looks very different to how it feels, right? Yeah, you think this makes sense. This is going to take, say, only about this much time, or things like I didn't enjoy this exercise a whole lot last time, but this time I will. This time I will. But then you get to it, and yeah, like you're going to have to tweak and make some adjustments. So yeah, first few weeks, a lot of it is just finding your rhythm in the gym, making it your program, and also working out kinks. Working out kinks from not just a movement selection, but let's just say it is a movement that you really like. There we go, partials. You have to sweep that lengthened portion, man. But yeah, you know, there's something to like regrooving yourself to an exercise, even if you've done it before. So one thing I will do on my opening weeks is actually take a few more warm-ups, even if it means it's going to cost me a little bit of energy when it comes to my actual working sets. So I'd rather be grooved and safe, confident in the movement, and then you know, like the weeks after, warm-ups much more accelerated, but not just new movements. Movements that, even if they are like your bread and butter, like they have a time proven history with you, just takes a minute to regroove. In my case, man, so my mega mass chest press that I was really digging with the underhand grip, they got rid of it. Always happens at this gym in particular, and they got I guess this is the V2. I think I like, for me anyways, the version 1 that I was rocking. So still, I'm going with something a little bit more neutralish, because this one does kind of flex upwards, kind of uppercuts, so that I can get a little bit more of that upper chest. I need more upper than lower. So that was one adjustment I had to make this week, was like, oh, where is like my machine, right? Very similar feeling, just not as serious as I've gotten my car stolen like 3 times in my life back when I lived in the Bay Area. And man, like we'll leave that in there. But what a like feeling, like it was right there last time I saw it, and now it's not there. But in this case, it was just a machine. I do like the Mega Mass overhead press. I prefer dumbbells, like in regards to like the actual feel, but this one's just so practical to get into, right? No kick up. And again, like I'm thinking of this long term. Like I wanted to do the anterior delt press with dumbbells, but I know prep is coming, and when prep is here, like walking your dumbbell to the bench, especially if it's not close to it, and the kick up, like it feels like that's a lot of energy. So I'm going to go with this one for now. But yeah, certain things that you think are going to work out, or you're going to do in the long term, eventually you're like, nah, who am I kidding? Let me get rid of these Bulgarian split squats, right? We've all done it with that. So yeah, I feel really like strong and situated. I will say this is one mistake I did do. So programs usually, when you start a new program, the first 4 weeks, you're just going to see all sorts of progress, because there's a lot of learning of the movements, right? They're neurological adaptations. This Kelso shrug, this variation that, yeah, I'm going to dig. This one felt amazing. But okay, so I know this, and because I know this, I know that I can be a little bit more assertive with my progressions early in the block. Now, here's the issue. When you do get to the point that you have, certain exercises quite well, like their learning curve isn't near, I guess it's very sharp. It's very sharp. So some movements like week 2, week 3, I'm like, this is already the grindy point. So yeah, the first 4 weeks, this is why like program hoppers often don't get anywhere, is because the first 4 weeks of the program, you're learning your movements. The first 4 weeks of the program, you're just getting settled in so that you can get to the good part. Now, once you do get to that point where progress isn't as linear, okay, like maybe on paper, it doesn't look like you're progressing as much. And this is where a lot of people panic and they will change way too many things. Like I am frustrated when like week 3 and week 4, I changed something just because for some reason it was a bad call, right? The movement didn't sit well with me. I'm not enjoying it, all those reasons, right? Because I know that, oh shoot, now like I'm well into this block, everything else is like grooved and established, and I'm going to have to this one's going to be just like 4 weeks behind, right? So, but when you get to that sticky point where you're not making like maybe as many load progressions, and you're just nibbling on reps, right? Across like 3 sets, maybe it was like 4 extra reps that you got. Like that's great, because again, those weren't neurological adaptations. Those were like, I'm not going to say it's 100% contractile tissue, but it's more likely that this is what it was relative to like the explosion in progress you saw the first few weeks. So this is where it starts to get hard, is when people start to question like, okay, is this still working? Did I plateau? Is my body used to this? And to some extent, yeah, like your body was getting used to the demands of this specific program. And it was getting used to it so that, okay, now it can do those like incredible things. Now you can push it to new places. So the first 4 weeks of the program, it's literally like the getting to know you phase. And then the next 4 weeks are where, okay, yeah, it's not quite as fruitful as the first 4, at least on the stat sheet, but if you are, clocking in some progress, that's a terrific sign. And that's about where I'm going to enter this upcoming week. So a lot of the mistakes I made was that I was expecting that, hey, you know what, just kind of almost go like all out, especially the second week, because I know that my all out's going to be very different. I assume my all out's going to be very different the next week, but because at this point I've done almost every, I guess, at least movement that I think makes sense, at least a few times over the last few years, I just groove in like super quick. So it's crazy. A lot like Helms has been experiencing this. Like he hasn't done this movement for a minute. He rotates it back in. And instead of there being like a 3-4 week block, waiting block before he's starting to make new progress, touch things that maybe he's never touched before, or he's close to that, quite often almost right away, he's like there, right? He's been able to pick up where he left off like almost immediately. So that's something that I made a mistake on quite a few times during this last week. This machine is going to replace my Smith machine, like squat. 30-degree wedges, I'd much rather use 20s, but I don't want to bring my own from home, so I'm just going to go with this one. And it's just way less popular than the Smith machine. As a matter of fact, this machine doesn't get a whole lot of love. I have it set up so that there's the most torque in the lengthened position. Look at that knee flexion. Yeah, it's doing its job, right? And then eventually, I think the next few weeks, I'm going to add something to the mid-range. I'll probably leave the top end like alone, just leave that weightless, because often I don't lock out on movements like this. But yeah, so this was kind of a late adjustment. I was getting used to the Smith machine. I was feeling right at home. And I had to, go with this one, because I'm like, you know what? I'm just every other workout, I'm going to be waiting on that thing. This is my upper back bias row. So it's like very trappy, very like up here, very shruggy, very upright rowy. Same thing, like the cables here. I'd much rather do this with cables just because to get into this position, it's like this little RDL and then like splat on the incline. And then sometimes like the bench gets in the way of the dumbbells, but my cable here it wasn't aligned exactly how I wanted it to. It's great for some things, not for others. It's just a little high and I don't want to bring boxes. So this another late addition, a swap that I had to make, but movement felt very intuitive. This is kind of like my decline machine. I was actually decently impressed with this machine. Yeah, I think I like it. But yeah, I'm going to, as much as like upper chest is like my primary focus, especially at the pro level, if you have a body part that, and not that my chest is great by any means, but sometimes like your strengths, like there is a rhyme and a reason to like making them even stronger so that they stand out more, right? I've always kind of done that with like my delts to some extent. Like they're decently good, but it's like, hey, you know what? Let some of the unique things that I carry in my physique like really get their time to shine. So yeah, this one's a little bit more decline-y. I have a decent amount of mass in my lower pecs, but I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm still not gonna have as much pec as some of these guys, but at least the lower portion will kind of look the part. So this is where I messed up. This was my dumbbell row. This is my full ROM, like higher rep set. Works to like I'm getting that shortened position, right? So there's some work in the shorter position, the fully contracted position. But also it serves as a proxy for progress, right? So if everything's going well, this full ROM one, very easy to keep track of, should climb up as well. But I thought that, you know what, because I hadn't done this one in a minute, I'm going to just add a load on top of load. So on like my heavier sets towards the end, again, that's how I'm doing it this way. I'm doing straight pyramid sets instead of reverse pyramids, the way a lot of people do it these days. Yeah, I got humbled, man. I thought I could get 4 reps with this 135, but it was 3. So I'm already like grooved in this exercise, and I bit off more than I could chew, right? So yeah, lesson learned. We'll drop the load a little bit to somewhere in between what I opened up this program with and 135. So yeah, that was man, I'm like, I should have seen this one coming, because one thing about this movement that I really love, there isn't a whole lot of grooving. It's like just set yourself up and literally yank. That's it. That's all the cues you really need for a dumbbell row. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of grooving that needed to take place. So yeah, everyone makes just little dumb errors like when they get started with something new. In regards to how much did I change from this program compared to the other, I'd say the changes were a little assertive. I think maybe 30% of the things that I was doing got swapped or adjusted a little bit, and this is also including like not necessarily the order. The order of the days are pretty much the same, but for sure the order of exercises on given days like that was changed a little bit, and I think that's something that people kind of, when they want to get their experiment going and figure out what really works for them, sometimes it's like you can't be starting from scratch all the time. Like the first few times when you're brand new at this, sure, because you're just kind of throwing darts and hoping that something lands, but eventually, and this is something you'll notice, like people who have made good progress, like it's very hard to get them to change their ways, right? They're kind of stuck in their ways. Like the program's working, it worked well up to a certain point, and even though something tells them that, you know what, like you need to maybe play with these variables, consider these things, it's hard to get them to change. And part of this actually helps them, because it helps these people like not like program hop and like change everything every 2 weeks, be influenced by, I don't know, someone with a really good physique. They're like, you know what, this is totally different from like what I'm doing, so I'm going to change my stuff to what they're doing. And then a few months later, it's like, oh, but so-and-so is doing this and they seem to be getting great progress, I'm gonna switch over to that. So that's one thing. People who make great progress, it's like they're almost stuck in their own ways to some extent, but it ends up working to their benefit, like more often than not. So once you're established and you kind of understand the rules of the game, that's where, potentially, I like to go with the 80-20 rule, right? It's like I'm going to keep like 80% of the things that are working and then adjust and tweak the other 20%. And I think that's how you can kind of keep tighter controls over your experiment, right? Because if you change everything, like every single time, you just don't know what's working for you. And again, changes can be a lot of things. Like I'm still RDLing, but I've committed to doing it with straighter legs. So a little bit less help from the glutes. The range of motion is a little shorter because the straighter your legs are, the faster you run out of hip flexion, right? So think of it from this perspective. Like if you're trying to like keep your legs straight and touch your toes without changing the shape of your back, you can't get too far before it's actually, you're no longer stretching your hamstring, you're stretching, your lumbar is what's moving, right? Moving you closer to your toes. So with a slightly more assertive knee bend, I think I was like at 10-15% before. I was able to go a little deeper, perform heavier weights because glutes were a bigger part of it. Glutes are still being trained here, but hamstrings are really what's under immense pressure. And you can kind of see that my hamstrings don't like this. Like they want help from the glutes, they want help from the adductors. And that's what like the shaking is. So what, not all the time, but especially like in this case, it's very clear that it's literally muscle groups like kind of playing hot potato. It's like, no, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take it. At the end, I'm like, no, hamstrings, like this is you. And I'm trying to keep it there. And I'm fighting to stay in that position, which right now still feels a little unnatural. But I think every week I'm able to, just make it feel a little bit more at home. I'm still trying to memorize like what my foot pressure should feel like at this point. Because that's all I think about when I perform my RDL is just like, where do I feel pressure? Where do I feel pressure? And I got it down to that, to just like basically one cue. Whereas right now, man, I'm running like on 3 or 4 different cues. This movement's going to stay the same. It was single leg before, now it's dual leg. Something about 45-degree things just make me feel like I'm going to vomit. And since I'm opening up with a high rep set, like a lot of movements this block, man, like I was this close to like, you know what, I should probably just have like a towel here is a bib. Same thing happens to me like on curls. If I curl at this angle, same thing. So it's probably just a me thing. But yeah, this is my glute press, trying to go down to about the point where my shins are about 90 degrees. Most of the movement's coming from the hip, and and more glute than adductor with my foot positioning. So you can see that they're pretty narrow. I don't think you can fully see it from this angle, but the next angle you'll be able to see just how close my legs are. That are literally almost like touching, but I feel strong in this position. This is just what feels natural to me, and also I just get a lot more glute stretch. And again, even though I compete in bodybuilding, like glutes are a super important body part. That's the area that when that's in and it looks right, it just screams like conditioning, like this person is fully like emaciated and ready to go. So it helps to have some extra muscle there, so that hey, like you can rock that conditioning a little bit earlier, and so that the lack of fat there looks even more impressive. So I really like this movement outside of the the vomiting part. My hamstring curls have all taken a hit this block simply because of how I've been performing my RDL. So yeah, sometimes these are things you have to take into consideration when you are changing the order of things, is like the context in which your metrics are taking place within the confines of your new program. So but outside of that, like again, now it feels like a playground. Eventually, once you kind of figure out your recipe, like it's going to be hard to to want to switch things out. You'll see when you guys get there. You'll see. So yeah, that last program was very good to me. I really didn't want to swap things around, but at some point you're going to have to, right? For many reasons, but I think primarily one is like just like orthopedic health. It's very easy to keep going into that same well over and over when it's been treating you so well. So yeah, we're good, man. Like we're finally, we no longer feel like the new kid in school, and everything from here will slow down. And then I'll get to the last 4 weeks of the program. The first 4 weeks, again, neurological adaptations. Somewhere in the middle, it's like it's slowing down. The last part is a grind. The last 4 weeks or so. Not that programs need to be 12 weeks, but that's when things like really like like if you're making progress there, it's probably a good sign. It probably means you are putting on some muscle. So yeah, we're established. We're good. I feel at home. And hopefully these next few weeks, before I start my prep, I have a few PRs to share with you guys. See y'all next time.